In this video, we're going to be talking about quiet air purifiers. Now, air purifiers can be loud and they can also be very quiet. Air purifiers go all the way up to around 70 decibels, which is close to the same noise level of a vacuum or something like that. They also go down to around 40 decibels, which is really almost imperceptible in a normal suburban type of environment where there's not a lot of artificial noise being created. So they run the gamut in terms of noise output. Now, the thing here is that noise output is going to be mostly impacted by the fan speed setting. Each one of these air purifiers we have on the table here today, these two, and really all air purifiers on the market have a fan speed setting. And depending on what fan speed you set the unit to, the noise level will increase or decrease. Obviously, the higher the fan speed, the higher the noise output, and the lower the fan speed, the lower the noise output. Now, during testing, we observed two different types of noise being produced by these air purifiers. The first type is a wind noise, just a regular air noise, and this is what most people would consider a clean white noise type of noise. It's not really obtrusive, it's not really unpleasant sounding or anything like that. So that is the first type of noise, is that wind noise being produced. The second type of noise is almost like a motor humming noise. We did observe this in several units, and that is really the only other type of noise you're going to have to deal with, and that really only applies to specific models, and that is definitely a more unpleasant sounding noise than the wind noise, which is not really unpleasant at all for most users. Let's talk about that air/wind noise first. The part of the air purifier that's going to affect that the most is the outlet size here. Depending on the size of that outlet, the air noise is going to be more or less. This Honeywell has a smaller outlet than this Kowei, which has a larger outlet. And when we talk about outlet size, we don't necessarily mean the whole area up top here. We mean the smallest part, the smallest diameter, or the smallest dimension part where the air is being processed through. And depending on how large or small that outlet is, that restrictive zone, the wind noise is going to be more or less. So on the same output on this unit compared to this unit, the wind noise is going to be less on the Kowei simply because of that larger outlet size. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's get into real life performance here, real data. On the Honeywell, it outputs at approximately 100 CFM on its highest setting, on its turbo setting. So you have to set it to that highest setting for it to get to around 100 CFM. On the Kowei, you can set it to its medium setting. You can set it to its second highest setting to accomplish that same roundabout CFM. Now, it's not going to be exactly 100 CFM. It's going to be approximately in that range, though. So at approximately the same CFM, the same output, this unit has to be set to maximum settings. This unit has to be set to a medium setting. And on that setting, the Honeywell outputs at about 68.7 decibels of noise. The Kowei outputs at only 48.9 decibels of noise. So you can see the substantial difference here in noise output, and that is on the same output. And keep that in mind. We are not comparing these units in terms of their minimum and maximum fan noise. The minimum and maximum fan noise is going to be quite similar. We are comparing the CFM to noise ratio here, and we feel like that is much more instructive in terms of really assessing the noise output of a particular air purifier. It's one thing to look at minimum noise output and maximum output. It's quite another to compare the actual output to noise ratio. So if we compare that CFM to dB ratio, the Honeywell has a CFM dB ratio of approximately 1.5, and the Kowei has a CFM to dB ratio of approximately 2.2. So the ratio is much better with the Kowei than it is with the Honeywell. So in comparing these two units, we demonstrate the larger point here, which is the fact that larger air purifiers tend to have a better CFM to dB ratio than smaller air purifiers. And in looking at that, we can also say that if noise output is a concern for you, then you should definitely look at a larger unit, because you are going to be able to run it on a lower setting at the same output as a smaller unit. And on that lower setting, it's going to output noise at a much lower level than it will on the smaller unit, which has to run on a maximum setting to accomplish that same output. Now, the second type of noise that we need to talk about other than air and wind noise, is the air purifier's motor noise. Now, on most air purifiers on the market, you're not going to actually hear this at all. It's not going to be an issue. However, on a select few units out there, there is a low droning humming noise emanating from the air purifier's motor. And we've noted that in the respective reviews for units that do have this issue. The 2 units we have on the table here today do not have that issue. But if this is a concern for you, we would direct you to reading our individual reviews where we will highlight this problem if it is a problem with that particular air purifier that we're reviewing at that time. So in conclusion, what can we say to wrap up this video on quiet air purifiers? Again, understand that air purifiers primarily make only 2 different types of noise. Most of it is going to be that air and wind noise coming out of the top of the air purifier, or out of the front of the air purifier, or out of the back, depending on the model. The second type of noise that you're going to hear is that low droning humming noise emanating from the air purifier's motor. However, that's really just an issue with this few select models on the market. The second thing that we discussed is the fact that larger units tend to have lower noise output than smaller units at the same overall output. So I'm at the same CFM, you're going to get much better performance in terms of noise output with a larger unit than a smaller unit. So at the same output, that is to say the same CFM, the same cubic feet per minute of air processing, this unit right here, a smaller unit like this one, is going to be more noisy than a larger unit like this one. So if noise output is a concern for you, then a larger unit is definitely the better option. So if we had to narrow it down and pick one unit, what is the most quiet air purifier on the market? Well, that's going to change day to day as we continue to test more and more air purifiers. The bottom line takeaway we want for you for this video is the fact that when you go to a larger unit, you can be rest assured that it is going to be able to be set to a lower setting where noise output will not be that much. And that's really what we want you to take away from this video. With a smaller unit, you're likely going to have to set it to a maximum setting to have it make any difference at all in terms of particle concentration in the room. And on that maximum setting, it's going to make quite a bit of noise. With a larger unit, you can set it to a lower setting in a lot of applications. And once you do that, the noise output is reduced dramatically. So if you're looking for a quiet air purifier, simply look for a larger air purifier. And by that, we mean not only a larger air purifier in terms of output, but definitely look at that outlet size and make sure that it's substantial. And if you do that, you'll be able to purchase an air purifier that's going to be able to be run on settings where noise output is not too much.